I'm Pastor Kyle Bailey, the senior pastor here at CenterPoint Church, and this is my friend Tony. We were in Israel together 2 years ago. I was on the board at The Source before I moved up here. I was a pastor down in South Florida, many of you may know, and Tony has some good stuff to share with us today, but ultimately what we're excited about is that in May or June, we're still tying down a date, the Dignity Bus is going to be in Flint, and Tony has Yeah, it's a long drive, but they're going to come up and we're going to do an outreach. We're going to partner with different organizations throughout the community to be able to touch the lives of the homeless and poor in our community. But ultimately, Tony has a big vision to be able to put a Dignity Bus in every city in the U.S. Obviously, that's going to take time, but it's going to be strategic partnerships like what our church has with The Source and with the community of Flint that can make it happen. And so with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Tony, and we'll get this party started. So thanks for coming.
You guys, but before I get started, do I have any takers that want to drive the bus from Florida to Michigan? Okay, all right. So no takers in this building. All right. So with me today is Maureen Archer. She's the assistant director at The Source, and JR. He's our head of maintenance at The Source. But before I get into Dignity Bus, I want to talk a little bit about The Source and what we do. So if we can go ahead into the next slide. So if you can, I don't know if you can see that, but I'll read it to you a little bit. And The Source started in 1994. It began as an organization offering free meals and Bible study in a 600 square foot storefront. So if you can imagine 600 square feet, it's probably the size of a small office. 27 years later, we've grown into a comprehensive assistance center with a 5,000 square feet outreach facility that is open 7 days a week to address the needs of individuals in our community. Our mission is very, very simple. It's to support and serve the community and lead individuals to a saving faith in Jesus Christ. Again, it's to support and serve and lead individuals to a saving faith in Jesus Christ. Our vision is we're a Christian outreach ministry working to transform the lives in our community. And this is a little bit about what we do and who we are. The Source started in 1994 with the idea of serving the homeless in Indian River County. And as we are approaching into our 25th anniversary, The Source has grown into the largest social service center on the Treasure Coast. 2 years ago, The Source created its award-winning Dining with Dignity program. This state-certified 18-week program trains our homeless and unemployed clients in the field of culinary arts. Since starting the program, we have placed over 60 individuals in jobs within the restaurant industry. Along with the Dining with Dignity program, The Source also offers showers, laundry services, and is the only cold night shelter in Indian River County. The Source is solely funded by community support. Please consider helping to make a difference in the lives of many. So that's what we do in a small 5,000 square foot building. So we provide all of those amazing critical services to individuals in our community. But this is truly what we really want to talk about, solving homelessness. And how many of you guys have seen this in your community where individuals are living out on the street, living in tents? And we see this thousands of people in Florida. In Florida, the temperatures are 70, 80 degrees. They really try to focus on cold nights in Florida, which is very, very rare. But in Florida, you have torrential rain, torrential heat. Individuals are sleeping in the woods where you have bugs. It's just not a good place to be. So is this really working in your community in Flint, Michigan? Would you say this is working? It's not working. It's not working anywhere. It's not working anywhere in the country. So who is really hurting in your community and across the country? You have homeless individuals, you have homeowners, you have businesses. Obviously, you have the criminal justice system. We have some individuals here today that deal with individuals that are homeless that go through the criminal justice system. You have the healthcare system, service providers, and ultimately the entire community is hurting. And why are they hurting? And it's all of the stuff that we see in the community, the trash, the urine, the drugs and alcohol, the fear of feeling unsafe, mental and physical health, the disconnection from self and family and community. And for us, that's the biggest piece. That's the biggest piece for us, is that we believe that the biggest significant reason for homelessness is a profound catastrophic loss of family. That's what we believe. So individuals in our community that we deal with on a regular basis, when you get to the root of all of their issues, that there is a separation between themselves and community and family. So what will fix homelessness? Housing will never fix homelessness. You can never build your way out of solving homelessness, but community will, because we're all meant to be in community with each other. So at The Source, we empower communities into a lifestyle of service with the homeless. We do not just want a donor that is just there giving us a one-time donation, or a donor that wants to just drop off donations at the door. We want individuals that are going to be with us, that are going to be on this lifelong journey with us. So we provide food and clothing and showers and laundry services to cultivate community, to get people to come in to the facility. But we promote dignity to our homeless and brothers and sisters that are in need. And this is how we do that. We connect individuals from human to human and heart to heart through the fellowship of food and hospitality. We inspire people into a lifestyle of abundance by giving their best first. So now I'm going to turn this thing over to Maureen, our assistant director, and she's going to talk a little bit about our dignity programs and how we were able to cultivate individuals into what we felt in South Florida individuals needed. Now, again, we're not from Flint, so we don't know what's big here in Flint. It could be industry, it could be job training, but in South Florida, it was really hospitality. It was really a community of, there was no industry, there was no affordable housing, so it was really hospitality industry. So we created programs to put people back to work in those areas, and Maureen will take it from there.
Good morning. Before I start talking about our dignity programs, I want to discuss a particular situation we encountered when we went to a training in Orlando for homelessness. And while at the training, we realized that what we were doing at the Source at that time, such as whenever an individual would come into our building, we would ask them questions: are you homeless? Are you employed? Different questions like that. But not only were we asking it every day, but we were asking it 3 times a day. And we then learned while at this training that we was re-victimizing our clients every day, thinking about, okay, I'm homeless. And so I then researched and found a software called Mission Tracker. And with Mission Tracker, you now are able to create an intake, and that's a one-time intake. So you're not asking them every day, are you homeless? Are you going through this or that? But the only questions we ask them now once they've completed their intake is, have your situation changed? While we have Mission Tracker, we're able to input all types of information about them, but more so we created this program called Dignity Market, because we initially realized that we want to be able to help them as far as giving them a hand up versus just some taking. So with our Dignity Market program, individuals have the opportunity to do chores around the building, to help out in any way possible to earn dignity bucks, which is what Tony has in his hands passing around. So with dignity bucks, you then have the opportunity to turn in your dignity bucks for either a shirt, a bus trip. Like, we have many individuals who want to go back home to be reunited with their families. You can turn in 150 Source bucks and we will buy you a plane ticket. Or we also want to help our clients to realize that we want you to have some form of social life. You can turn in your dignity bucks for a movie ticket, to go bowling, so that they can also have something outside of just living in the tent or living outside, but then they feel great about it because they know they worked hard to earn it. So we're not all about just giving without you even feeling as though you have some form of input into it. And I think once we started the program, it changed the dynamic of how they come to us now. What can I do? What can I do around the building to earn Source bucks? So now I will go into our dignity programs. Ooh, okay. I'm a little blind, so I have to walk over here to see it. So our Dining with Dignity program. The Dining with Dignity training program is a 6, 12, or 18-week program which offers culinary training as a way to help unemployed men and women replace limited skills, homelessness, addiction, and incarcerations with new careers in the food service industry and overall changing lives. So we try to tell our clients, yes, if you want to just receive services, if you just want to just wash your clothes, whatever the case may be, you can come in and we will offer that without anything. But if you truly want to change your life, we always ask people, join our Dining with Dignity program, because we can pour more into you by joining our program and not just coming in as a client. Our Dignity Catering program. Dignity Catering offers Dining with Dignity students the opportunity to give back to the local community and help them in their efforts to gain outside employment by cooking and delivering well-balanced meals and beverages daily to IRC businesses and nonprofit organizations, as a full catering menu is on our website at www.iamthesource.org for private functions or event planning. So we realized that many of our students didn't necessarily have hands-on experience. Like when we were providing meals at our building, we were doing it from a mass production standpoint. So when we implemented the catering program, it then allowed them to have hands-on experience, not only creating the meals depending on what the party wants, but it also allowed them the opportunity to interact within the community, to get outside of their comfort zone and be able to interact with others. Not only that, we have the ability to other nonprofits in our community, we are able to give them meals at such a very discounted rate. So you have homeless providing food to other homeless. And so it just shows them, hey, we can help each other. Recently, we applied for a grant in our community called the Impact 100 grant. Usually it takes an individual 3 years of trying to apply for this grant before they actually can receive it. The Source applied our first year, and God allowed us to receive $100,000 for this grant. With this grant, we were able to build our first, implement the Dignity food truck. With the food truck, it is a social enterprise that is geared to the selling award-winning foods throughout the community. It operates daily with chefs from the Dining with Dignity program, providing hands-on training with made-to-order meals for real customers. This program was enabled by the 2020 Impact 100 grant and travels to varied locations within the community. Download I Am the Source from an easy-to-use Google app to view our menu, order, pay online, and pick up the food at the food truck. So this also allows all of our students hands-on experience made-to-order meals for individuals within the community. That way, if they are to obtain a job, they're ready by going through our training programs.
Hello.
Now we'll turn it over to,
Can we go back to that last slide real quick? So the food truck, let me jump in there real quick. So this has really just been in practice for about 6 months. We really just been launching the food truck out in the community. Huge success for us. So pre-COVID, we had an agreement with an organization called Piper Aircraft, where they make small aircraft for individuals around the country. In Vero, they have about 1,100 employees. So we had an agreement with them because they have no commercial kitchen at their establishment. So they wanted us to come in, provide lunch to a minimum of 100 people a day. So minimum 100 people a day. Our daily sales tickets are about $10. You're looking at $1,000 a day. You're looking at $5,000 a week. You're looking at generating $250,000 per truck. That's just one food truck. So we were blessed to be able to take this food truck to a private donor's home and do a private event at their home. And they asked us, they said, what do you need? How can we help you? And I said, well, if you want to support us, that's between you and God, what you do with your money. And he said, no, I really love this concept. What do you need? I said, well, we would love to increase these trucks so that we can generate enough money to be self-sustaining We want to be able to be self-sustaining so that we don't just bang on everybody's door every day saying, hey, we need your support. Can you please help us? So in turn, he wrote us a check for $150,000 to purchase 2 more. So we're going to be launching the second food truck in July of 2021 in a few months, and then the third one in July of 2022. So again, God's hand and his favor has been ridiculous to us. If you just pay attention to what he's telling us to do. The Impact 100 grant that we applied for, it initially started out to be a social enterprise in a printing company. That printing company, the guy was going to give us the business. We were going to go in and help individuals, train them, and to do business cards and flyers and all that good stuff. 3 days before the grant was due, he got cold feet, and he said, I don't want to give up my business. God just told us, hey, we've had this on the back burner. Apply for this. And not only did we apply and did we win, we were the fastest organization to get it up and running in Impact history. So Impact 100 started as 100 women given $1,000, and then they would donate $100,000 into the community. It has now grown into Impact 500. So they give out 5 $100,000 gifts to nonprofits in the community. It's a very rigorous process that you got to go through to even apply and even potentially win. And we did that in our first year. And it was 3 days, and I say this a lot can happen in 3 days. We all know that. If we're all believers, a lot can happen in 3 days. And we say that a lot at our building. And 3 days before we were to apply, this is what it turned into. So again, through that whole process, we train people, we get people working, but we went out to, me and Maureen, we were fortunate to go to Austin, Texas, to an organization called Community First Village. And Community First Village was an organization that built a village literally on steroids, and they have Christ at the center of everything. And when we were out there in their training, they enlightened us to Genesis 2:15. And if we all know Genesis 2:15, it says, God created man and settled him in a garden so that he can cultivate and care. Now, depending on which Bible you read, it might be a little bit different because I'm not a pastor. I'm not trying to be a pastor, but what we do across the country is we try to get people cultivating and caring before we settle them. And we all know God is a God of order, and we're doing it backwards. We have to settle people first and then get them cultivating and caring. And as the pandemic has shown, whether you're church folks or not, or you're homeless or not, if you're unemployed or not, and your kids are at home, how many people across the country are unsettled? And the pandemic has woken some people up to settling people. We need to settle people first and then get them cultivating and caring. So we've done a really good job of getting them cultivating and caring, but we had a hard time settling people. So we would work people all day long, and then at 6 o'clock at night, we would pack up our bags and head to our beautiful homes, and people were still sleeping on the street, still sleeping in those tents. And we were not okay with that. So this led us to the next program, which is why we're here, called Dignity Bus. Dignity Bus is the first emergency shelter on wheels in the entire country. So we were blessed. One of our donors came forward and gave us a 40-foot motor coach. JR, our amazing maintenance guy, stripped the entire motor coach, and we shipped it to Orlando to the builders of our food truck. Builders of the food truck said, sorry, JR, you did a great job stripping it, but it has so much water damage, we can't use it. So we had to go back to the drawing board. JR was fortunate enough to take out the $30,000 generator that was in the truck so that we could salvage it. And we went on another hunt to try to find a motor coach. So we found this motor coach out of Maryland for $9,000. Truly, it was truly another God-sending moment. We looked at a shipping company to ship it to Florida. They wanted about $3,500 to ship it. We asked the guy, well, since this is what you do, can you drive it to Florida? We'll pay you to drive it, and we'll put you on a plane and send you back to Maryland. And that's what he did. And 48 hours later, we had a motor coach sitting in Orlando. JR was fortunate to be able to strip out this motor coach again, if we can get into the next slide. This was our vision about a year ago. So a year ago, we came up with this vision. So this is our rendering a year ago. Looks pretty close, doesn't it? So that was our vision a year ago. This next video is what it is today.
Every night in America, nearly 600,000 people are homeless. The Source in Vero Beach, along with supporters and donors, have a solution: an emergency shelter on wheels, the new Dignity Bus.
Dignity Bus came about a year ago. We had one of our board members donate a 40-foot motor coach to the Source. We looked at the motor coach and we had the vision to develop 20 emergency sleeping pods, and this is what came about.
When I first heard of bus, I was really excited because it's a need that has yet to be met. And to our best of our understanding, this is the first of its kind in the country. It's a long time coming. And so absolutely we were ecstatic to be able to meet the need to provide shelter for homeless people immediately. That's when they needed it.
For the community, I believe it just shows that we are actually trying to do something to improve the homelessness in this area. But by providing Dignity Bus, it now prevents so many individuals just out on the streets causing havoc, causing any type of issues. Now they have a place where they can rest peacefully at night.
This Dignity Bus that behind me is the first of its kind anywhere in the United States, and we are proud that it's part of our community. The Source has been a great partner to the Indian River County Sheriff's Office, and we're excited that this will provide a much-needed opportunity for homeless and those that are struggling in our community as a place to stay, especially on cold evenings. We're so excited to have this resource available to those in need that struggle in our community, and for it to be a first of its kind anywhere in the United States is absolutely incredible.
5 years ago, I started here as the development director at the Source, and I had the opportunity to do my first cold night shelter, and I was blown away by what I saw. I saw 50 individuals inside of our small little building sleeping on thin little yoga mats from the Red Cross that the Red Cross provides, and literally individuals were sleeping on the floor.
Yeah, so remember that
prompted me to go
that
to
picture in
one
your
of our
head.
supporters, one of
I'm going
our
to talk
board
about that in a
members
second.
That purchased 100 cots to get people up off the floor, which simulated beds. 3 years later, we're now standing in front of Dignity Bus that has beds. So we literally started at the floor, and we now have beds.
When I first saw the bus, I immediately thought Jesus welcoming people in. And isn't that what we all want? This project was particularly important to my husband, Fred. He passed away on September 11th of this last year, and he was never able to actually see the bus. But being here today and seeing how God is going to be using it to actually change lives is quite exciting.
We were very happy to be able to partner with the Source in outfitting the Dignity Bus with all of the bedding and supplies that they needed. We feel it's so important to give back to our community, especially during these difficult times.
Hi, I'm Cindy O'Dare, and I am adopting 2 pods on the Dignity Bus. This is Anthony. He's in charge of all that's going on at the Source. My partner, Richard Boga, and I believe wholeheartedly in his work. We thank you. How about adopting a pod?
Yeah, so what we do is,
To be able to provide sleep to 20
I guess we're not done.
is not just a game changer for our organization, but for individuals that, are coming to the bus. Sleep impacts everything that you do. It affects your emotional health, your spiritual health. It's the first thing that you need to move forward in your daily process. And it's a game changer, not just for Indian River County or the Source, but the entire country.
If you build it, they will come. We are thankful to the members of our blessed community that have worked with us to make this dream a reality.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, right? Pretty amazing. Again, when I started a few years ago, I was fortunate that I was the development director then, and the executive director said, "You're going to stay for your first cold night shelter." And I said, "You're crazy. I don't do that. I raise money. I don't do that." And thank God I did, and I stayed, and I was able to see individuals sleeping on those thin little mats. You guys saw those from the American Red Cross, those thin little things on the floor. It's literally like sleeping on the floor. And I said, this is just nuts. We got to get people into at least cots and get them up off the floor. So then we went to that, and we were able to do that for a few years. And then the vision of Dignity Bus really came into fruition, about 8-9 months ago. And, we really started from the floor, and now we have beds. But our ultimate goal is to get a village and to build affordable homes so that we can bring people home. But I was fortunate when we launched a few weeks ago. I stayed on the bus. I was there from 10 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. Maureen was there, and JR was there. JR drove the bus several times. So I'm going to turn over to JR so he can tell you a little bit about his experience before we get to the next slide.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is JR. When Tony came at me about this bus, I was like, okay, boss, are you sure about this? Because this is a big project. It was new to us. He was like, listen, we're with God, and when you're with God, a lot of things happen. So me being homeless as well, I spent 14 months living out of the car with my girlfriend. Oh, I'm sorry. 14 months living out of a car in Walmart parking lot. I became a volunteer at the Source, and today I am a staff member. So it's just amazing what a bed can do at night for people. Sleeping in the car is not comfortable. Sleeping in the woods in a tent is not comfortable. Sleeping on the mat on the floor is not comfortable. So the concept that Tony came up with this bus. So it was amazing. It was hard work, a lot of hours, but we accomplished it. And it was like the first night that we stayed on the bus, I asked people next morning later when they're coming off the bus, how was your night on the bus? And it just blew my mind when the response that I got back from our clients. Like, it really hurted me. Like, I'm housed now, and with this concept of what the people were saying, for a good night's sleep, there's not a price. It's just crazy. Morning, Matt.
Morning.
How you doing, boss?
Awesome.
How was the night?
That was the first deep sleep I've had in a very long time. That was very nice.
So you'll do it again, huh?
Definitely. Tonight also, that was amazing.
Appreciate you, man. God bless you, Papa. See you later.
So again, sleep is a game changer for people. When you need them to start to function and start to move through, it's a game changer. So that exactly, we live in homes and we struggle to sleep sometimes. Imagine being on the street and asking them to do programs. It's tough. So can we get in the next one? So this is our ultimate goal. A couple days before we came to Flint, we put an offer on a property, 11 and a half acres, 40,000 square foot building. 3.5 years ago, we started. We had $38,000 in the bank, and we put an offer on this property of $2.1 million cash. So when I tell you God provides in abundance and will provide in abundance, we've been able to meet an operational budget every year to the point where we're able to put an offer into bringing people home and creating a tiny house village in our community. Let's go to the next slide. So this next person we're gonna talk about before I play this slide. This is Brian Hartley. Brian Hartley is, for me, probably one of the most difficult people I've ever seen in South Florida. He was living out of a van. He was driving his van for several months with no tags on his van. He was addicted to drugs. He just was a terror. And Brian came to me and said, I want to go to rehab. I said, sure, Brian, I'll send you anywhere, wherever you want to go. If you get into rehab, I'll send you there. So he left, and he was gone for several weeks. He shows back up with an email, and he says, I got into rehab. Where are you going, Brian? He said, I'm going to Flint, Michigan. I said, what? Now, remind you, this is 4 years ago. I said, Brian, you can't even drink the water in Flint. You're going to rehab in Flint? And he said, that's where I'm going. I'm going to Flint. So we spent $100. We drove him to the airport. We put him on a plane. Several months later, this is Brian.
My name is Brian Hartley. I'm 50 years old. I'm in Birch Run, Michigan. I'm here because the people at the Source helped me from being homeless to being reunited with my son. I am now working full-time and going to school. And I thank Tony, Rob, and the staff at the Source for their dedication to helping others, for helping me to renew my faith in God, and for giving me hope when I felt like there was none. Thank you, guys. I love you. God bless you, and I will see you soon.
So again, the Source, 4 years ago, we didn't know that we would have a small little part in being in Flint, Michigan. We had no clue that we would. So if you guys wouldn't mind clapping, Brian Hartley is here today to talk to you about his testimony. Brian, can you come on out, Brian? Come on out, Brian. So this is Brian 4 years later. 4 years later, this is Brian. Can't believe Brian is here today, but we were able to reconnect with Brian last night, and he was able to take off work, and we wanted to share, the Source, and 4 years ago, how we were instrumental in having this little piece in Flint, Michigan. And now, 4 years later, we're standing here, and he's able to give you his testimony on how the Source was able to pour into his life.
I don't know who the person was on that video. That was scary. Tony called me texted me about 10:15 last night. I said, I can't get there, I have to work. And I went in this morning, and I work at a place called Orchid in Birch Run. And the first guy I met there was a Christian guy. So they know my story, and I told him, and I said, can I get out today? And he said, yeah. So spent most of my life working construction for cash. So this is the first time, it'll be 3 years in May that I've been at this job. I got a 401k and paid vacation, so I'm getting paid for this. So, I don't know, I guess I wasn't your typical addict, functioning addict, raised 4 kids, ran a business. But circumstances and decisions. I was born in Flint, spent most of my adult life in Charleston, South Carolina. Ended up in Florida on a stupid decision. And then I have an 11-year-old. He's 11 now, but 4 years ago, he was starting first grade here in Michigan, staying with my mother and my oldest son, who's now 30. And one thing led to another, and I ended up homeless in Florida. Behaviors and addictions that cause those sorts of things. What I learned about that was the people that I met. It was about 6 months I spent around the Source and meeting people there, and the different stories. I mean, there's so many different stories of why people end up in those positions. And the some that want to help themselves and the some that don't. And that was something that you guys made clear from the beginning. Rob said, I'll do anything for you, but I won't do everything for you. That stuck with me. So I just wrote something down the other day. I said I was living in Florida with nothing. I was living in a borrowed tent, riding a stolen bicycle, and eating for free. So I don't know how I could have got much lower than that. And I got saved in 1998. Struggled through the years, and it was June of 2017. When I got saved, I remember the preacher said, blah, 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 surrender, blah, blah, blah. And here I was almost 20 years later, and that word came up, and so I threw my hands up. I was at the Source. And I said, okay, Lord, I surrender. And like Tony said, I went to them guys. I said, I hear you guys will buy bus tickets for somebody if they can find a place to go. What do I have to do? And I said, just help out. So I was cleaning toilets and scrubbing showers and whatnot. And I ended up at the Odyssey House here in Flint. It was was the one place that I had Medicaid down there. It was the one place that would let me come up here. I called them every day for like 12 days in a row because they didn't have a bed. So I just bugged them until they got tired of, you know. But I knew I knew the Lord, and I knew His voice, and I knew where I was, and I knew where I wanted to be, and I knew what I had to do to get there, and it was all about letting Him do what He was going to do. And so the day they finally said I could come, I was sitting down at dinner that night, and excuse me, Tony and Rob came up with a plane ticket, and that was on a Tuesday. Ticket was for Friday, and so that was August 9th, 2017. So this August will be 4 years for me, for the first time in my life since I was about this big, completely clean and sober. And today, I'm buying a house in Birch Run. My son lives with me full time. God is good. You know, I just you guys help with a lot more than just the place to do your laundry and something to eat, because like Rob being there for so long, and you were new when I was there, but you could tell you were passionate. And then, you know, he was running security back then. But it was an awesome blessing. And without these guys as example and being willing to help me, I wouldn't have what I have now. So future's bright, and God is amazing. And when you finally throw up your hands and surrender, there's no telling what He can do. So, there you go.
So let me close this thing out real quick. For us, we believe that, you know, the greatest commandment that Jesus said was to love one another just as I have loved you. And that's the difference maker, is that when you personally love somebody, your whole dynamic changes and it shifts. And we love every single person that comes in our doors, even if we got to give them tough love. But again, in Proverbs, where there's no vision, the people perish. I'm going to leave you with this last little slide. It's about 30 seconds. If you guys know her, that's Kathy Lee Gifford on the Today Show. She sent us a special message the other day.
Hey Tony, it's Kathy Lee here, coming to you from Nashville. Hope you're well. Our mutual friend George Shin has told me so much about the great, great work you do, your organization does with the homeless, teaching them about culinary skills, feeding them to begin with, how important that is. First of all, you feed people, right? You give them a fish to eat before you teach them how to fish. And you understand that biblical concept so well. So I just thank you for what you're doing from Jesus' admonition to feed people, love them, clothe them, hold them, tell them that I love them. You're doing all of that so beautifully, Tony. And I know the Lord is looking at you and saying, well done, my good and faithful servant. God bless you.
So again, we're gonna have question and answers.
Can I say something that when I was there, and I spent about 2 weeks trying to find a place to go, and I'm scrubbing toilets and doing all that, and Tony would look at me and he'd say, I got you. Remember that? And you just kept saying that, and I had no idea what that meant. But I just thank you for that encouragement, and that was I got amazing.
You. But again, we're gonna do some question and answers. But again, we know that when we launch Dignity Bus, the next Dignity Bus here in Flint, we have the perfect operator that's going to operate that, standing right behind us, because he has the perfect story. He's been there. He's been in our community. He knows this community. He has the perfect relationships. And when we're ready to go, we have the perfect person to do that. So we'll take any questions. Does anybody have any questions for us?
Hi, I'm John Garabelli. And the question is, do you drive your bus to different spots in the city to pick up people?
Good question. Good question. So in Vero Beach, we have 4 locations. The first location is at the Source, where we have our first pickup spot where we partner with local law enforcement. The local sheriff will stop at 10 o'clock to load the first load of individuals onto the bus. And then we have 4 other locations that we park at. In our community, it was really tough with trying to get zoning to where we were going to park overnight. So we had to go to the local truck stop off the interstate, and they allowed us to park there every single night. So our bus has generators on it, has everything, all the bells and whistles on it. But we have 4 different locations that we stop. And by the time we get to the last destination, you hear people snoring. All they want to do is sleep. That's all they want to. It's almost like the traveling destination is rocking people to sleep as you're driving.
Do you have a shower on the bus?
We don't. We just have a bathroom, a restroom, but our building has a shower at our facility.
So will the bus go over to your building and take showers for the night or something?
No. So most of our individuals will reserve their spot during the day that they know that they can come onto the bus. So we're not just driving around picking up just random people. They have to come to our facility. They have to reserve a spot. Obviously, we have showers there. We can make them shower during the day, and then they know that they have a spot waiting for them on the bus. But we really designed the bus for our students that are in the kitchen program because they're working all day and they have nowhere to go. That's how it was really designed. But we created so many more spots that we now have additional spots for people that come to our facility that need a bed. So again, it's only 20. We have over 500 people in our community that need a bed every single night. I'd imagine in Flint it's even more. So we only do 20, but we know that 20 is a start, and somebody else can do 20, and somebody else can do 20. And if you have a fleet of buses, we can start to make a dent in that population. You're welcome.
Will you also share with them about you coming to visit us in a couple months?
Sure. So we're planning on bringing the bus again in May, sometime in May or June, hopefully when the weather breaks. And again, I think when you were out, somebody said that you're willing to drive the bus, Amanda, because
sure,
you like
absolutely.
to drive. You've done the drive already, so
I would love to.
We will use you to drive the bus. So, anybody else? Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Right here.
So I don't know what the cost of that bus is. I know it was donated to you. Is that right?
Yes. Well, the first bus that we had was donated to us. The second bus cost us about $10,000, and then the retrofit was $70,000. So all in $80,000. So if you look at putting 20 people in Florida in a hotel room, it's about $100 a night. So if you put 20 people in a hotel room, that's $2,000 a night. So you look at every 40 nights, it almost pays for itself.
So how does that, with duplicating the program and making more buses, how does that compare with buying real estate that you could house people in and stuff like that?
Yes. So in Vero, we tried to purchase a building. It took us about 2.5 years of going through city zoning, code enforcement, sprinkler systems, building upgrades, all that good stuff. NIMBYism, not in my backyard. Nobody wants it in their backyard. We don't want it in their backyard. We tell people we don't like homelessness either. We want to eradicate it. That's why we're here. But trying to buy a building and trying to do all of that, it's so much easier to do it in an RV because there's no zoning requirements because it's never been done before. So we're actually doing it where they don't even know how to even come and tell you that you can't do it because there's nothing on the books to tell you that you can't. So our ultimate goal is to create a program that we can build them ourselves internally and keep the cost down because right now we're using an outside builder. So if we can hire a skilled builder and we can hire a skilled electrician, we probably drop those costs down even more.
Okay, and also how do you get from the Dignity Bus to the Dignity Village?
So again, that's the end game. So Dignity Village is long-term housing for people to rent for $400 a month. There's no time frame. There's no 90 days. There's no 6 months. You can live in that village for the rest of your life. So if you're on Social Security or disability or you have income, you can live in our community.
No, I mean, like, how do you get, like, say you start this in Flint, we get a bus, and that's going well with the one bus, and then how do you transition from that one bus into creating a Dignity Village in Flint area?
Again, our vision is to inspire other people to do that. We would love somebody here in Flint to be able to take this vision and concept and duplicate what we're doing in Flint. Obviously, we're in South Florida, and it's been a struggle over the last 4.5 years to even get to the point where we're buying land. but we're just providing the vision and the concept, and hopefully we can start the bus here in this church, and then somebody will take that and run with that vision.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So one of the other things I think you should also share is, one of the things you shared with me was, why are they even here today? Like, they are not here. You're not asking every person here to start a Dignity Bus. We are here as a community working together. And so will you be able to share with them how we can all work together with that? How does the bus, like the drop-offs, and how does that work? And what can people expect for Kyle and I in CenterPoint Church to be able to reach out and say, hey, this is what we are really going to be needing you for later when this comes about here in Flint?
Sure. I mean, every time that I go out and I speak to everybody, everybody asks me, what do you want? How much money do you want? How can I write you a check? All we want is your voice. Somebody knows somebody. Obviously, we have law enforcement in the room. We need law enforcement to partner with us to make this happen, to go to city officials and county officials to say, listen, we have a solution. You know, we know that they put barriers where people can't sleep outside. You can't panhandle. There's so many barriers that they want to eradicate homelessness, but there's no solution. So now you have people that can say, we found a solution. How can we bring that here? There's plenty of funding that's all over the place that you can get funding for that. But, you know, there might be somebody in this room that knows somebody that has buses, that we can convert a bus, that we can then get it affordably. There's somebody up here that might be able to build a bus that we can employ. You know, there's people here that know somebody that we can start to have those conversations.
Hi, I'm Derek, assistant pastor at Flint Driven Church.
Yep.
I was homeless for 4 years, and so I know what God can do. And the thing you're doing right now, we're doing it right now at Beat Light downtown with Lynette. And I was talking to my wife. The bus thing is awesome, and that'd be something that Flint needs. Also for the property, we see it downtown every day. We see the people, we know the people, we're communicating with the people.
Yeah.
And I communicate with them because I was there.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing right now, will you have a class or a workshop that we can come to
absolutely.
to get more information? Because what you're doing right now, my pastor talked about this, and you doing it right now, we want to get involved.
Yep.
We want to get involved so we can do something to build Flint back up and also build the people back up.
Sure.
And so that's the goal, to build the people back up. And the training that you train them now, we want to train them to not just rely on us, but to rely on themselves to get back to working and get back to how they used to be.
Yep.
And so any training that we can you can do to help us, because we want to get involved in that.
Yeah, I think the start was for us to come here with Kyle. We have a relationship with Kyle and Amanda, and to bring people to this church that are interested, to say, because Kyle will follow up with everybody here and say, okay, when we'll set up the next training, and we'll be back. We'll definitely be back to help try to do that. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir.
First of all, thanks for the invite as the sheriff, and I share your love for people. This community, as long as I've been the sheriff, just a little over a year, has done a complete turnaround when it comes to making a difference in other people's lives. I think the unity that we're seeing is unprecedented. In my time being on the sheriff's office for 28 years, we have transitioned our whole office mentality from protect and serve to protect, serve, and unify. And if you forget about the mental illness, if you forget about homelessness, the addicted, then we're going right back to what got us where we were last May when this whole country lit on fire, because that bridge there was never built between police and community. So when I saw the sheriff up there, it was just confirmation. And of course, Kyle and Amanda, you know my heart for people and my heart for Christ is, and I said it before, when you do for the least of these, you do for me. And that's why you have Diane here, who is probably the number one authority, besides Judge Barkey, in mental health and restoration of people's lives. And so I brought with me my undersheriff, the number 2 guy, who's from South Florida, came up here 6 years, or after 6 years of retirement, to be the undersheriff, and he's seen where we're going. And I brought with me Mike Holland, who loves the Lord, and Mike is our sergeant over the Community Care Task Force, where we deployed the churches in the community over a year ago. We've deputized our churches. This can work because government's not involved. Right. This can work because the people are involved. Yep. And Yeah, and I will tell you this, you know, as the sheriff, I have a great job. I really do, because my bosses are the people of this county. And so I can say that we are not only committed to what you see, sir, as the vision of another way to help Flint. You know, and I love the fact, and I wrote that down, I can do anything for you, but I'm not going to do everything. And we're going to do anything we can to build our community back. And you have to have a number of different ways to do that. And this is one of those ways. We have homeless people sleeping in our county jail lobby because of my heart for people. We have people that stay out in front all day long because they feel safe there. So this is something that we're committing to you as you leave here today. So when you wonder, did we get what we wanted? Did the Lord open a door? The Lord opened the door with the sheriff's office, I promise you, because we're doing it already, and this is just another ornament on the tree. We're going to partner with our friends in the courts and our church family, and I can assure you this, when that bus comes up here, there'll be a sheriff county car escorting you right to this location. You've got my commitment.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Tony?
Yes.
Piggybacking off what Sheriff Swanson, I'm Diane. What Sheriff Swanson said is the need here is so great. I work with the mentally ill, the homeless, the addicted through our, I still call it community mental health, but we're Genesee Health System now. And he's right. I mean, the jail lobby is one of our shelters. It's not really a shelter because they're the ones that get kicked out and can't go anywhere else because of their behaviors. And as long as they're good in the lobby, the sheriff lets them stay there, which is awesome. So I think that your vision and being on board, and I love what Sheriff just said, you know, you can't have the government involved in faith-based things or you're not going to get anywhere because God's not in a box, but the government puts him in a box. So I think your vision's awesome, and Flint is so, you know, you said 500. We have so many homeless.
I mean, it's a pandemic in itself across the country.
And we don't even have, I think we have 2 shelters that for men, maybe 3 for men and 1 or 2 for women.
Yeah, we went and looked at one yesterday. We definitely went and
looked at one. Did you go to My Brother's Keeper or Carriagetown?
Carriagetown. We went.
Hey, Brittany.
We went to one yesterday.
Hey, Brittany. How are you? Yeah. I know Brittany. Yeah. I work with her mom. But yeah, and then we have Be Light for our day ministry. So it's awesome what you're doing. And
it was truly eye-opening. You know, I grew up in outside Philadelphia, so to be up this neck of the woods, you see poverty in Florida, and Maureen grew up in South Florida, and you see it, but you don't see it to this magnitude.
Well, I want to say kudos to you too, Brian, because a lot of my peeps go to Flint Odyssey, and awesome work there, buddy. And I'm really glad that you, I salute you and give honor to you for everything you did, because I'm with you on that. I'll work 110% for you, but along the line, you got to give me back 100% so we can work together.
That's right.
But awesome what you're doing, and thanks for coming and sharing with us.
Yeah, we know we have the next bus operator right here once we launch it. We got the guy right here. We got the guy. Yes, sir.
My name's Anthony. I'm affiliated also with Be Light Ministries. It's good to meet these guys. I've been waiting to meet Flint Driven Church. I also, other than working at Be Light Restoration Center, I'm the kitchen coordinator for Food Works down at the Flint Farmers Market. We rent 2 full-size, commercial-size kitchens, and I can totally see a program like you were showing us video of going on down there.
Yeah, the first thing that I thought of when I was talking to Amanda and Kyle yesterday was, and when we got here, was food deserts.
Yes.
There's food deserts everywhere, and it's crazy. And, you know, what just popped in my head was just mobile supermarkets, and just taking those mobile markets into the communities that they can get, you know, fresh food and produce and things of that nature. Because we were searching for a grocery store. We couldn't find a grocery store for miles. And we're like, that's crazy. That's what I mean. There's none. There's absolutely nothing.
So I just want to say that I got, you know, thank you for coming and giving us a glimpse of that vision, and thank you.
Sure. We'll be back in May. Right. There's no COC, there's no COC or like continuum of care. There's none of that. There is. So we have a COC in South Florida as well, and HUD does a report every year, and you can look it up. You can Google it. Ben Carson put it out before he left office. And Indian River County, where we live, we're the best at being the worst for not housing people in the country, in the entire country. So you can look at the demographics from where you live. You can start to look at all that stuff. But when you start to look at the amount of federal money that's poured into poverty, the needle hasn't changed in 10 years. It just hasn't. It just hasn't. And we have to do stuff that's radically different because we're radical Christians, and that's what we have to do, and get creative and start to look at, when we started to get pushed out of buildings, we were like, okay, here's what we need to do. We need to find a creative solution where they can't tell us no. And that's what we did.
I was just wondering, do you guys, with the training of the buses, do you guys do the training with the drivers?
We do that here. Yeah, with our stuff, we do that, but we hire people with CDLs that can drive buses, and then we bring a support staff with them to be able to help them. So we have 2 people that are on the bus every night.
And to elaborate on that, here at CenterPoint, one of the things that like we struggle with just as a church is that we actually cannot let the homeless here inside the buildings because we have children that we have to protect, Monday through Friday. So the bus is a game changer for someone like CenterPoint who wants to be able to help, but has something that is truly precious to protect, right? One of the things that we do have here, though, is we do have people who have the CDL license. Is that the right name?
Yeah.
And I know that he would be willing to train because he's told me that personally. So we do have people here right in our community who would sit down and say, hey, this is what you need to know. This is how you're going to get there. This is how you're going to pass the test. So, and then they would also help you because we also have the buses to practice that with.
And the great thing about us when we did the motor coach was we knew how God had his hand in it. We got the motor coach, and it's listed as a commercial RV. Well, a commercial RV where you need a CDL license to drive it. So when we gutted everything and we took it to the DMV, and I got in front of the lady and showed her everything, and I said, look, this is an RV. This is just a motor coach. You don't need a CDL for a motor coach. She looked at everything. She was like, you know what, sweetie, you're absolutely right. I'm going to change your title to RV. And I was like, oh, ain't God good? I said, isn't good. Because a CDL, it's a whole different ballgame to be able to drive. So if you found somebody that knows how to drive, a Winnebago or an RV, it's an easy transition to get somebody to do it. But we wanted to be able to bring somebody in with a CDL because then we can go anywhere in the country to be able to do that.
Hi, I'm Becky from Judson Church. I guess I'm wondering more how you work the vocational training into that. Obviously, the bus is an immediate temporary solution. You want them trained in some kind of a vocation so that they can earn money, so that they can have a home eventually.
Correct.
So how do you work? You talked about some programs that you had in vocational training.
Yep.
They work there during the day. And
So the Culinary training program is 6, 12, 18 weeks where individuals come to us that are unemployed and need to get back into the workforce. So we bring them into the building. We train them through 6, 12, and 18 weeks, and we give them a stipend every week. So every day they're with us, they get a $10 a day stipend. Then if they pass a drug test on Friday, they get a $25 bonus, right? So we basically pay them $100 a week to get trained. We're training you every day. And then when you get on the food truck, if you're on the food truck, you're the recipient of the tips on the food truck. So we have one location that we go to every Friday, and they leave a $100 tip every Friday. So what we've learned was when they graduate the program, we take all of their tip money, we put it in a side account. When they graduate, we cut them a check. Some people buy cars. Some people are able to pay first, last security deposit. Some people are able to pay their fines. Some people are able to move forward in where they need to go. So that's part of the training aspect. But through the training aspect, there was nowhere for them to sleep. So people were showing up late. They were showing up, intoxicated. They just have nowhere to go. So we had to find a solution to be able to provide our training students a place to sleep. So that's why we created the bus. And then through that, it was, okay, we have 6 students in our program at any given time. We have 14 extra beds. We need to be able to help somebody that comes to our building that's a senior that's on disability that got pushed out of affordable housing? How can we provide them a bed until they can find a place? Because we know that any program, there's a gap in services. Even if you apply to get into a program, there's a time frame for them to do that. So being able to come somewhere safely until they're able to transition somewhere else, because that's what we're about. We're about moving the needle. We're not interested in homelessness. We're not interested in keeping people where they're at. We're interested in moving people forward. So I hope that helps. Yes.
I just had a quick question about, do you put men and women on the bus, and is there any kind of safety issue with that?
We do put men and women, and there is no safety issue. In the 4 years that we've done our cold night shelter inside of our building, literally that's what prevents people from coming indoors. You'll have people that, I'm not going indoors because I can't stay with my girlfriend. I'm not going indoors because I can't be with my wife. I'm not doing it. And when you start to remove all of those barriers, that's what we want to do. We know that we just need to love on people and provide a safe, secure place, because the first thing that people think of is it's going to be a bus where they're going to make babies out of. And that's not the case. We have people that literally just want to sleep.
They would put their mats right next to each other and then go right straight to sleep, and never have any issues. I've done cold night shelter many times and have never had an issue.
And the reason is that you have people there overseeing it all night long. They're not just, it's not a free-for-all where you turn the lights off and no one's like, and you have people watching. The
thing is, they want
sleep.
community. These people want so much community that I've been there overnight myself, and all they want to do is talk all night long. I'm like, dude, go to sleep. You're driving me insane. But they can't, because there's somebody there that's giving them time and attention, and just that's what they want to be. So we know that that's the biggest thing that people miss is community. So we have on our intake form, what are the 3 basic needs that you need? And most people put a job, a place to live, a car. Most of our people put community or friends. They're looking for a sense of a connection, and that's what we give them at the source.
So I know we're over the hour mark that we
yes.
Told people, but I will, if I can just say before you want to close out or whatever it is that the next step, what's the next step? What's going to happen? And so what Kyle and I will do is that when Tony gets the dates of being able to come up here with the Dignity Bus, we are going to be emailing everybody for you to guys come during the day to look at what it is, to ask more questions. And my thought, Tony, is that you are going to actually implement the Dignity Bus as well while you're here. Am I correct? And do some sort of missions work?
Yeah, we're going to do some stuff up here while we're here
Okay.
for that short amount of time. But
So with
our goal is to inspire a local church
Yeah.
and get them off and running with their Dignity Bus, and let them take it from here.
So we're going to need help with that. We're going to need
Yep.
Be Light Restoration. We're going to need,
Yep.
Carriagetown Ministries to be able to know, okay, where do we drop people off to get them food? We're going to need CenterPoint to set up. We're going to need, people to step up to help out with a mission that is going to be throughout the whole community. It's not just a church thing that we're wanting to hold on to. We want this to be a community-wide missions event for the Source to come up here and utilize whatever we have with resources. So that's all I have. But
Yeah, so thanks,
anything
guys.
else?
Thanks for having us, and please follow us at IamTheSource.org, Facebook, all that good stuff. It was a pleasure being here, and it was a pleasure seeing our good friend Brian Hartley, and thank you to Amanda and Kyle for allowing us to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Hey, let's take a moment and pray for the Source Ministries and just ask God to continue to do what he's doing. Father, we thank you for Tony. We thank you for the Source. We thank you for the city of Flint. And Lord, we believe that this is a partnership that you have put together. So, Father, speak to us. Show us what you have in store, God, in order to be able to bring life to the homeless community of this city, Lord, to be able to move people forward into the purpose and destiny that you have for them. Lord, you created each and every human being in your image, not so that they could live in a place of destitution, but God, in a place of restoration. So, Father, we just pray that you would open doors in the city of Flint for us to be able to see people move into your purpose, God, as a result of the ministry of the church. I'm not talking about one church. I'm talking about all churches in the city of Flint coming around what you desire. Lord, through the Apostle Paul, you spoke and you said, I only urge them to not forget the poor. So, Father, we agree with that today, and we thank you. We pray that you would multiply the blessing over the Source, and let there be a Dignity bus in every city in the United States. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you guys. Y'all have a great afternoon.